Based on by the
Evening. Welcome to the planning board meeting. Wait a minute, we're a little disorganized up here. We had a meeting immediately previous to this. I need to switch papers. Here we go. First at every meeting is public comment. If you have something that you'd like to speak to the planning board about that isn't on the agenda, would like to hear it now. So if you want to speak, please come forward, say your name, and state your business.
Hi, my name is Jill Neubauer, and I'm an architect in Falmouth, and I'm here tonight to share with you an idea I have that I'm hoping would be helpful to the planning board and the zoning board. I'm here to make a recommendation to your process that I believe would be exceedingly helpful to you and the broader community. A successful building is designed in context, and it can only be properly understood and reviewed in context. And the current list of required drawings doesn't give you enough context to properly review a building. If the planning and zoning boards required an established set of drawings, the boards would be positioned to review the building well, and the community would better understand the proposed building and its potential impact from the beginning. The photographs and drawings I recommend the Planning and Zoning Board require for submissions of all non-single family proposals are photographs of the neighboring buildings, a satellite view of the site with the neighboring buildings and all natural features, a large-scale site plan showing the adjacent neighboring buildings, site survey, which is common, precedent images relevant to the building type. So if you have a bank proposal, a food proposal, or affordable housing, and a developer has a particular type of building, bring those precedent images forward. Then, of course, your architectural drawings that you currently have, plans, elevations, and sections. But if you expand the requirements to include elevations in context, including the elevation of the neighboring buildings, sections through the proposed building, and then a section through the neighboring buildings in each dimension, north, south, east, and west. That scale understanding from the very beginning would alleviate a lot of questions because you understand the impact. A material board and an exterior lighting plan. I would be happy to participate with your boards to create this list and recommendations. I want to stress that this list is not onerous for an architect. These are the things, these are the tools we use to make a building, to understand its impact on its immediate context and the broader community. So you are not putting a burden on architects or developers to ask for these drawings. And if everybody was required to bring them, you would start with a much more significant base to do your work. It's my recommendation that the Planning Board and Zoning Board establish a consistent, robust list of drawings for your submissions.
I want to thank you, Ms. Neubauer. I believe you had written to us about that, and I was really very taken with your suggestion. You also gave us a different rendering, a possibility for the bank building, and I think you've had an impact. I'd like you to know that the Enterprise is recording tonight. I think what you said is important. I wonder if you'd like to leave a copy with us and with the Enterprise. That would be very helpful. So any other reactions from the board with Ms. Neubauer's idea? It would be very helpful. Yeah. Does the state have things to say about what we're allowed and not allowed to require? Is there a restriction on us adding to that?
You mean under site plan review?
Yeah.
No, site plan review is not a statutory item, so each municipality can control what they would like to see and what they would not like to see in site plan review.
I wonder what things we try to do is have it fit in with what's around it. You know,
Right,
so.
but we're working from our memory, not always the best.
Right.
Whereas this would be from the architect who's making the proposal, who studied the issue, and is now presenting us with the context right there, which would be a big help. Paul?
Yeah, this is public comment, and we generally don't comment on public comment. And I would suggest we take this up at another meeting where we can look at what has been presented by Ms. Neubauer, and then we can talk about it.
Let's add it to future agenda items, very good. But sometimes we don't always do the same thing. So, anyone else for public comment? In that case, the minutes, Paul, please.
Yeah, I recommend approval of the minutes of March 12th, 2024, as corrected.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the minutes of March 26th are still outstanding. That'll be done next time.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay.
So,
And, excuse me, and also I recommend approval of the minutes of April 8th. That was the brief meeting prior to town,
Yeah.
prior to the town
right,
meeting.
itty bitty meeting.
And they were submitted to the office, so I recommend approval of that as well.
I
A
would-
second?
Second.
Madam Chair, I would hold off on that simply because we didn't list them on the agenda. Let's just bring it back at the next meeting, list it on the agenda. You can take your vote at that time.
Okay.
We missed it.
Okay, let's try and remember it.
0 for 1 so far.
Right, I won't remember it, but you might. All right then, on to the agenda. Tonight's agenda, I think, is not going to be hugely time-consuming. We've got two,
I'd say that.
approval not required, we've got public meeting things that, one we have seen a lot before, the other is new and passing by us on the way to the commission, and then a couple of discussion items on their way to the zoning board. So let's begin with the approval not required. Who would be speaking for Falmouth Housing Trust? Plan of land to divide the existing lot into two new lots at 419 Wacoit Highway.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Laura Moynihan. I'm the Executive Director for the Falmouth Housing Trust. And this is an A&R plan approval for property at 419 Wacoit Highway. It is a plan to divide the property into two parcels. Both would meet zoning requirements for buildable parcels. Lot 2 has about 117,000 square feet, and Lot 1 is just over an acre at 48,008 square feet. Just for your information, this is the site of the proposed transaction between the Falmouth Housing Trust and the Division of Conservation Services for housing and conservation land. You may have read about in the paper.
So both lots have more than enough land, they have the frontage for it, they're on a public way. Any questions from the board? Anything else you want to say about your plans, Shirley?
No, just that I think it meets the criteria for A&R endorsement under the state law.
It does.
I move that the board endorse the plan as presented without regard to buildability or compliance with zoning.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And it passes, thank you. Next up, the applicant is Frederick Johnson. A plan of land to divide an existing lot into four new lots at 0 Boxbury Hill Road. Jensen, oh, we have the wrong
It was
name.
wrong on the,
I noticed that in the agenda when I looked at it today. It's Jensen, not Johnson.
Right, okay.
Hope that doesn't interfere with the notification or anything. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We prepared this plan. We've been doing work over many years for the Jensen family. And this is the most recent. There are three new, I don't want to call them buildable lots, but there are three new lots, 5, 6, and 7, plus the remainder is Lot 4. Lot 4 has all the remaining there is all the frontage on Route 151. Nothing planned with it at this time. And then there just is Lot 5, Lot 6, and Lot 7. The other lots are previously existing. So there are three new lots, which are 80,000 square feet minimum. It's in the Water Resource Protection District, plus all the remainder on there.
Okay, so they all have the frontage?
They have frontage, required minimum frontage, lot width and area, frontage on Boxbury Hill Road, public way.
Right. to meeting our requirements. Are there any questions from the board? No? Hearing none, could we have a motion?
I move that the board endorse the plan as presented to us without regard to buildability or compliance with zoning.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you.
Well done. Next, we have a public meeting continuing to hear, to continue to hear from Four States Group, care of Stonefield Engineering and Design LLC, site plan review application to construct a 3,432 square foot bank with a drive-through ATM along with parking improvements on 13 Davis Straits. Speaking for the bank.
The building and the truck turret.
This is your third trip here or fourth?
This is our fourth, I believe.
Fourth,
Yeah,
right.
fourth.
Welcome back.
Happy to be back. Happy to be back. It's a beautiful drive, so we don't mind. Good evening, board. My name's Giovanni Caesar. I'm a design engineer with Stonefield Engineering. We're located at 120 Washington Street. Here on behalf of the applicant Core States Group to kind of pick up from where we left off the last meeting and explain some of the updates we've made to the application package. To start off, we did submit an updated revision yesterday based on comments received from towns. Whoa, is that me?
It happened now.
Much better. That's glad we got that out the way early.
Yep. Take two.
So yeah, we did receive a few minor technical comments from the water department and
I don't like those.
few comments regarding the truck turns that we can touch on now. So with the water department, the only real change that was made to the plan can be found on sheet C6, our utility and drainage plan, and just trying to zoom in here. The only update we made was changing this lateral from the relocated 4-inch water main to the building. Originally, we proposed a 1.5-inch type K copper line, and we just changed that to a 1-inch polyethylene domestic water service line. So there was that. And then also regarding clarification on the truck turns, we modeled a standard SU30 box truck, which safely circulates the site. And then also there was some discussion regarding the Falmouth fire truck, specifically the mock-up for the apparatus to use. Just to clarify, we did reach out to the Falmouth Fire Department, and back in September of 2023, they did provide us with the truck turning specifications, but not the specific model of the truck. Our office went to New England, Northeast Fire News to look up the town of Falmouth standard fire truck apparatus, and those dimensions were modeled. So the maneuvering ability of the truck is, per what the town sent us, the fire department sent us. It's just this specific mock-up right here was just taken from the dimensions of another truck, but it moves the same, it circulates the
There
same.
was something about the fire truck is too long to turn around the driveway?
No, it circulates safely throughout the site. It's just we weren't provided the specific model, so we couldn't input that in our vehicle tracking database.
Ah,
Yeah. But yeah, if there are any, further questions, we'd be happy to touch on that further. We also submitted a color rendering as requested by the board, which really, drives home the point of all the additional green space we're introducing. I believe we are just north of 190 additional shrubs and trees combined, and that doesn't take into account all the extra ground cover on site. So again, if you drive past the site today, it's nice out, so you might have a different perspective, but again, it's a sea of asphalt that we're introducing a lot of green space to. So we also submitted updated color elevations as the board requested. During the previous meeting, I believe there's going to be a revision to the stretch code come summertime, and there was some discussion regarding the removal of the dormers on the roof, which we brought back to Chase, conferred with the team, and we're able to make that update per your request. And finally, as discussed The freestanding sign, just want to reiterate that that will be handled with the Kimco's application for the greater shopping center. That monument sign is part of their scope, and the relocation will come back to this board for all applicable permits and approvals. So we really appreciate the board's help throughout this process, and really appreciate the town staff's thorough review and getting us to where we are, and we'd like to keep this process moving forward as smoothly as possible.
To benefit the people watching at home, could you please go through, we can read it on your elevations there, but go through the finishes that you're putting on the building.
Got it. Yeah. So for a storefront canopy, we're actually, Kevin, we actually have, I forgot we had the architect on behalf of CSG here, so he can probably run through this more in depth than I can.
Thank you. In terms of materials, the main building materials that will be used for this project are going to be a hardy plank siding for the main body, as well as a thin veneer red brick that will be used for the entry tower, the back of house space, and the stone water table.
Good.
And the brick water table that is going to be going around the bottom of the site.
That's the elevation that will be facing the street?
Yes, the bottom elevation will be facing towards Route 28. The storefront is all going to be black anodized aluminum, as well as the MAPES canopy that will be going over the entry canopy, the drive-up ATM and night depository, as well as over the brick tower that will be facing towards Route 28. The roof will all be black asphalt shingles for the sloped gable roofs. And for the top of the drive-up ATM output, the back of house area, as well as around the storefront, we will be using white hardy board trim pieces.
Could you say again about the storefront? As I read it, that's that clapboard looking that appears gray on your drawing?
Let me see if I can increase the size here. All storefront is going to be black anodized aluminum. We will also be using black aluminum muntins in order to break up the storefront as well.
What is a storefront? What are you calling a storefront?
Oh, the windows. So
Just the windows.
Yep. So this is the storefront, and as for the windows that are facing toward Route 28, behind that is going to be a wall. So we will be using a gray spandrel window in order to block out the views, because behind this will be the living room display.
Is it translucent?
It is opaque to prevent seeing. Behind this is the living room and the back of the display, and we didn't want that to be seen through the windows, so that's why we'll be using a opaque gray spandrel window here.
And the part that appears to be clapboard will be what?
You mean the part around the storefront?
Hardy board, you said.
Yeah.
It's concrete board.
Concrete board?
It's made,
Clapboard.
A hardy board.
but it's made, it's a concrete product, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. The main trim around the storefront and the building will be a 6-inch, while the coping frieze on top of the back of house and the drive-up ATM will be a 9 1/4 inch wide.
Questions from the board? No.
No?
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, on the front elevation, it looks like the entrance elevation, what appear to be windows, they look like they're grayed out as well. Is that true, or are they? Are they transparent? Are they windows you can see through? And
The windows on the right will also be, let me actually.
okay.
The windows on the right will also be the opaque spandrel windows, the ones right here.
Right there, okay,
And
that's what I'm looking at here. Okay.
that is just because that is where the cash
Yeah,
room is going to be.
Yeah, I understand that. And,
The rest of the windows, however, will be translucent.
okay.
That's it on the elevations? I do think it's
Yeah.
an improvement.
Yeah, no,
Does the rest of the board think that? Jim?
I still think it's very difficult to approve this without the context of the location that I brought up previously. The buildings that are either surrounded or what's proposed. I think to make a decision in a vacuum is wrong. I brought this up before, still feel the same way.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't believe that we're allowed to insist that they tell us their future plans when they say they don't know what they are.
We can say with that, but let's see what they do.
Pat?
I look at this as being the first of the development here for the redevelopment. And as such, it's setting a nice standard for what goes forward, I believe. We can't ask for something that they have no idea what's going to happen there.
They could show what's there.
But we know what's there. It's surrounded by asphalt with a couple of flowering trees and the single-level shopping center way behind it. We have some other questions about the project other than with the elevations. There's still some open comments about stormwater calculations that need to be remedied.
Yeah, so we did issue revision 4 yesterday, and Jed informed me that the engineering division wouldn't have time to review it by tonight. I can touch on some of the stormwater improvements that we did make. We submitted they sent us their calculation spreadsheet, and we input some different parameters, with the main one being increasing our 6-foot weir elevation here for this proposed outlook structure from 10.65 to 10.7, which introduced a lot more capacity for dead storage and infiltration on site. So the spreadsheet said we were okay, so we're just waiting for any final comments to trickle in, if any, from the engineering division.
Okay, and Jed has thought that the minor changes that need to be made can be made administratively. Okay, then, we've looked at the colored building elevations to ensure that the design is okay, so I guess we're finished with that. And the colored landscaping, to see that, yes, you've given it some thought and added more greenery to the area. So that's good. Anything you want to add? Paul?
Yesterday, we received a letter from the office of Mr. Kenny talking about the parking requirements and I don't know how valid this is, but that obviously has to be addressed.
It does need to be addressed, and I think, I talked with Jed earlier, I think that we can address it pretty easily. We might all remember that not that long ago, the building down on the corner of the driveway coming up to Town Hall had a question about an easement that needed to be resolved. And at that time, we applied to the legal department to find out about the resolution of that, and discovered at that time that dealing with easements is not within the purview of the planning board. But it is a comment that we can make on our conditions as it goes forward, that it needs to be resolved in some fashion, but it's not up to us to explore it or resolve it.
And perhaps to just clarify and provide a little bit more detail is, it appears to be a private property dispute between property owners. And so therefore, the planning board does not get involved in that type of situation. So that's the statement that essentially would be included in your decision, if you're comfortable. And it would indicate that another avenue would be the appropriate place to solve that
Did the
issue.
applicant get a copy of that letter?
I don't know. I don't believe it's ours to share. However, it is public record. We would ask that the person who sent it to us, or the attorney's office who sent it to us, also send it to the applicant themselves, or to the property owner, which I suspect has been done. But perhaps we hear from them if you're so inclined.
Jim?
Just a minor point of correction. The easement that was discussed in Town Hall Square had never been recorded. It was the attorney presenting it, they were going to apply for a prescriptive easement. It didn't exist. The easements actually are recorded and existed. They're two different things.
But the result is the same as far as the planning board is concerned.
What? I know, I just wanted to clarify, that a prescriptive easement, they have to go to court, they have to get it done, and it has to get filed and recorded. This is already filed and recorded. I consider them to be two different things.
Oh,
My own personal opinion.
you want to deal with it differently right now?
No, I'm just saying, I think it's dangerous. I know it seems to be this is the way we do it, but I've always thought that the easements, especially significant ones that could change the design, the layout, should be dealt with as part of the planning process and not ignored. But I know I've been overruled on this many times, so I'm all set to just be quiet about it after this point. I just need to bring it up one more time.
Okay,
If the board is comfortable with it, we can always ask town council to weigh in on it before you make a decision too. We're happy to do that, if that make you feel more comfortable.
there's no need not to. We could do that. As I understand it, when you and I discussed it, they're, given where the lot is, the explanation of the lot and the materials given us, and the number of curb cuts there, that there, it didn't appear to be a problem. But let's take the extra time to straighten it out.
The letter that I read also talked about signage and not being documented, and I think to approve the site without having, I thought I read the letter that it talked about signage as well as easements.
I don't recall the signage part, but we'll read
I
it
read
more
it.
carefully.
Yeah, it was in there, but I think to include something like that because we were sent this letter, to include at least acknowledgement and see how it should be handled from a legal standpoint in our decision, I think would be wise.
Sure. Happy to do it.
This is not the first time this has come up. This has come up previously. And now it's come up again, another letter repeating the same information, so we should resolve it one way or the other.
We will. John?
Since the letter is public record, should it be read into the record?
Very long. It's about 5 pages.
Yeah, it's a long record. I think that it would be, mention of it will be in the record anyway, will be in the minutes.
Yep, it'll be attached.
Right, and it will go forward from the planning department to the legal department, and I hope that we will be able to hear about it within 2 weeks, by our next meeting.
I believe that the letter also indicates that the folks would be here this evening, so perhaps during the public comment period, they might come to the podium and explain. But we just don't want to forget about public comment.
Yeah.
They're here. Would you like to come forward and explain it?
Certainly. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Board. My name is Patrick Nickerson from the Law Office of John Kenny. To my right is Greg Balzikian, trustee of the Wacoit Road Real Estate Trust. And we're essentially here as a direct abutter to the proposed redevelopment, expressing some of our concerns which exist still since our last letter from January of this year. I know there was a lot of information in our letter and a number of exhibits, but essentially to parse it down for you is that a very large significant piece of the property located at 13 Davis Straits, the site of the proposed redevelopment here tonight, and 39 Davis Straits, the property for the trust, which we're here to represent our concerns from, consists of a substantially large parking area that was created in 1960 for the benefit of a combined shopping center. And as part of that protected parking area, there were a number of easements, cross easements, and restrictions that were all sort of baked into the plan to promote the benefit of this center. And this proposed redevelopment is smack dab in the middle of the protected parking area. And despite our requests for the property owner to acknowledge our easement rights and to satisfy our concerns remain today. And we're here. I know potentially it may not be in your purview, Mr. Cornock, but we're here hopefully to motivate the property owner to have a communication with us, have a conversation with us, and provide a comprehensive site plan which details how this proposed development might mesh with the proposed additional development being contemplated on site of potential housing on site. By doing it in a piecemeal fashion, it puts us in a difficult position to contemplate how the entire plaza will be redeveloped and how that will affect the parking easements. Just by way of example, there's a net reduction of 65 spaces as a result of the proposed bank. And that includes the 31 spaces being proposed, which we expect will be used by the patrons of the bank and its employees. So reduction's really more than 65 spaces. How is the bank going to mesh with any proposed other redevelopment on site? It's going to sort of, well, it's not sort of, it will absolutely affect the shared parking easement of the shopping center. And it's unfortunate that more productive conversations haven't been had so far. Easements do not expire. The multiple amendments to the deed affect the building restrictions in place. Those do expire. Easements do not expire. So we have recorded easements, which we have the benefit of over this land. The issues have not been resolved to our satisfaction regarding access or signage, and the plans and other materials demonstrated for additional proposed redevelopment are unclear and they're not complete. So we're seeking more information from the abutting property owner. We're seeking to collaborate. We're not seeking, we're seeking to be a good neighbor. We're just asking that we have a good neighbor in return.
This could be a way through to what you're looking for, Jim, that we will get a more complete picture.
Is there a timeline for the master plan for the plaza?
I mean, I've been working directly with Kimco to get a master plan, and I mean, these are non-legal words are, it's like, I can show you this, but I can't show you that. I can give you this, but I can't give you that. And I can't, in good conscience, move forward and say, I want this project when I can't get a full grasp of what my neighbor's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really, I mean, it's a daily communication up until 2 days, Friday, the gentleman went on vacation. Just give me one plan that shows me what you're gonna do. I can see how the traffic will be impacted. I can see the number of spaces. I can understand what you're gonna do so we can move forward in common. And, I really would like to get to a place where we can move away from the 1960s and document this today so everyone moves forward with a current set of rules and a current set of understandings. That's ultimately what I'm trying to do. So we all can say, today, here we agree, today, this is what's gonna happen, and we can move forward with a common understanding. And it's been very difficult to get that on one piece of paper. I would also suggest that I've not seen this particular drawing. The drawing that I showed my proposed tenant that wants to take possession Monday is the old plan. I haven't even seen this plan with the building turned sideways, and the traffic pattern that I thought we were gonna get's different. The other part is, the Mass DOT doesn't recognize my curb cut. I don't know how the curb cut that this new project is gonna affect. That's a joint curb cut, the one that's sort of on the north side of this.
Mm-hmm.
We share that. That's something that I need to protect to make sure traffic comes into my place, but they've sort of started to design that. I don't know where DOT stands on that issue at all. So there's some complexities around this as the neighbor that I need to get this information so I can say, great, let's just move forward. So I don't know how that, I understand your purview, and we sort of talked about this as a potential outcome, but we really are trying to move forward with the best of intentions so we have a good neighborly understanding of the rules to go forward. And there is not a clear plan that was been presented, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But
Comment from the board, John?
Only that the gentleman that's speaking should give his name
Oh,
for the record.
oh, sorry. Yeah, my name's Greg Belazikian. I'm the owner of 39 Davis Straits.
Thank you.
Right, he was here before. Yeah,
I know
thank
he
you.
is, but for
Yeah.
the record, he should share.
Right, we didn't hear from the architect's name either.
My apologies. My name is Kevin Kelly with Core States Group. We are the architect for the proposed building.
Thank you. Other comments, Paul?
Would you be willing to share this letter from Mr. Kenny tonight with the applicant to save some time? Or would you have to go through the process of requesting it from the attorney?
You can have this one right here.
Thank you.
The conversations we've had predate January. One of the first things we've asked is, please acknowledge the easement rights that are recorded. To date, they've not been recorded, and they've not been acknowledged, and it's been months. One of the goals of this letter was, let's show exactly where the easement is. Let's highlight the relevant portions of the deed. Let's provide a sketch plan showing our understanding of the protected parking area as it's defined in the deed, which has not been changed in any subsequent amendments. So to the extent that there's murky or unclear easements, or we're not going to acknowledge it, we're hoping at least we can resolve that issue and move forward collaboratively, as Mr. Belazikian has indicated, as trustee of the trust.
We had already decided we were going to pause to find out legally where we are with the easement for this particular issue, and it might be in all of our best interests if we don't set any date for when you would come back, but wait and see when you have got your questions answered and work with the planning department to fix a date that will work for everybody. And hopefully that might spur Kimco to cooperate. It would be in everyone's best interest if they did.
Yeah, that's what I brought up the last time, is
Yeah.
we really need to see what's going on, because the bank is operating in a vacuum too. If they don't know what's going on or what's gonna be there in the future, I mean,
Well, I assume they're getting some form of an assurance in the length of the lease. You know, they're getting something
Yeah,
that satisfies them, but that
but as far
the
as
town's interest is, you know, ongoing ever.
Right, but as far as the development of the whole plaza, I mean, it's like I said, they need a master plan to see what's gonna be there. So you could dovetail into what's gonna be there, you know, so that,
Jim?
I don't believe I'm the only one that hasn't seen proposed plans for the back of the site. I think we've all seen them in the past, and it's really strange that we're not talking about them.
Well, and the reason you're not talking about it is because it's not an active application before you. And I think that we've tried to stress that before, is that, you know, just like any other project, I realize this is a little different because it's a shopping center, but just like any other project, you only speak about the project that's before you.
But isn't it the same site?
It is the same site, but that doesn't mean they're actually going to go ahead with that proposal that they've been talking about.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you saying we only speak about what's in front of us as a practice, or is that a legal point?
Well, you have an active application before you that you have to render a decision on based on the requirements of your zoning bylaw.
And what is our timeline on that?
You have 90 days. So there's two things I would recommend. One, we continue them to a date certain, because we do need to do that. If they can't come to a resolution, they can always ask for an extension of that or a continuance of that matter. But we do need to set a date certain for them to come back.
Wait, I know you give us the dates when it must be decided. Let's set this at least 2 meetings ahead
Right.
and
So-
give them time to do what they need to do.
Yeah, so currently your decision deadline is, I believe, May 17th.
On the 17th.
So they'll need to file a request to extend that decision deadline. They'll also need to, you'll need to continue them to a date certain. And then in between time, what we can do is follow up with town council to make sure that it's clear about how we would handle this property dispute that we've got in front of you.
Okay, the decision deadline is May 17th. Our next meeting is the 14th.
Yes,
So let's continue this to the 14th.
that's what would be my recommendation. Yeah. And then we will communicate with the applicant on a deadline decision, unless you'd like to do that now.
No.
You could extend them to the end of May.
No,
to
let's
allow
see how it goes.
Okay.
So you have a motion to, if that's, is there anything you would like to say about that? Motion to continue to the 14th?
I mean, we were pushing to, you know, keep the process moving forward, and this seems like a step that, you know,
It is.
we can't move forward without. So we're happy to coordinate any drawing updates or any correspondence on our behalf to, you know, the attorneys at hand. And yeah, I guess we'll be back on the 14th.
Well, and I realize you can't commit to cooperating with your neighbor, but you could work on it. So could we have a motion to continue to the 14th?
so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So
Aye.
on the 14th, let's see what can be moved on by then.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that information. That might move it along quickly.
Thank you for hearing from us.
Yeah, thank
See you on
you.
the 14th.
Yep. Yeah, you did good. Okay, next up. We have Mr. Clower is here on behalf of Cape Cod Young Men's Christian Association Incorporated, site plan review application to construct a YMCA recreational and educational facility at 485 Brick Hill Road.
Good evening.
Good evening. Quite a project.
It is quite a project. It's one we're very excited about.
Maybe interrupt very quickly. You want to read the public hearing notice?
And I get it.
You have it, Paul. It's close.
Public notice for this project was published on January 5th, 2024, and 54 abutters were notified by regular mail.
Do you have any abutters here? No. Okay, Kevin.
So, for the record, Kevin Clower. I'm an attorney here in town with Ahmed Clower Law Firm, and I'm before you tonight on behalf of the Cape Cod YMCA. I have plans with me. I'm happy to go through them, but quite honestly, I didn't have much of a presentation prepared because I assumed we're here for just strictly for the kick over to the commission.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say before that happens.
Nothing.
Nothing. I'm going to stop talking now.
Good move. Okay.
I just have one question. The pool is still in the plan, right?
Pool is still in place.
That's all I care.
You could just nod.
I knew it was, I just didn't say it on the record.
So they just,
Yes.
Could you explain the issue on the shared parking space behind the church?
no.
No.
This public hearing is simply for you folks to vote to refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. That is all. You will have an opportunity, as will the public, to weigh in on the application once the Cape Cod Commission notifies everyone. You'll be able to attend their hearings if you so choose, or write a letter, or ask questions at that time.
And when we come back to this board and the zoning board.
Correct.
I should have stayed home tonight.
I'd like to propose approving passing this on to the Cape Cod Commission.
Okay, so motion,
A motion to approve submitting this to the
I
Cape Cod
think it's a
Commission.
finding that the information provided, it's right here.
yeah. Recommend the board vote to refer the application as presented to the Cape Cod Commission as a development of regional impact.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
We look forward to presenting to the commission and being back before you as soon as we can.
Yeah. The whole town is looking forward to it.
Okay.
Okay, now we have two 40B proposals. Once again, we're just moving something forward, but we can comment on it and send our comments along to the ZBA as they consider these proposals. The first one is located at 19 North Falmouth Highway, across from Bourne Farm. The owner is Robert Booker, Loretta Pina, and Robert Pina. There is the layout of the houses. It's 24 houses on, I think is it 5.6 acres?
4.27.
427. So that's what, just over 5.6 per acre. I think.
I'm trying to do the quick math in my head, but we'll move.
Yeah, I had a
It's
calculator.
late. So included in your packets are all of the site plans that Melinda has up on the screen. There's also the referral from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So this referral, if you choose to provide one, is due by May 2nd. Also included is the application for the comprehensive permit behind the referral itself. And so I'll just sort of lead it off a little. So as we mentioned, it's a 4.27 acre site. They are proposing 24 single-family units or single-family homes, 6 of which would be affordable. All of these homes are for home ownership. And the homes themselves will be 2-story structures, 3-bedroom units, and approximately 1,800 to 1,900 square feet apiece. They all will have attached garages. As you can see up on the screen that Melinda just moved away from.
Oh, so sorry. I thought you wanted to.
There's a quite a long cul-de-sac. It's approximately 650 feet or so. that runs from the site, the beginning of the site to the back of the site. There are some topography challenges in the rear of the site because it abuts Route 28. And that part of town, there's a lot of hill. In fact, that whole back area is quite steep. So you can see that some of the houses being proposed towards the back, as she's scrolling over them, they've got, very long driveways, but of particular emphasis would be the fact that they are located right along the highway itself. We didn't see any landscaping in that area, so as you can imagine, a house up on the hill, right near the highway, you're gonna have some loud noises here and
They're
there.
going to have a tremendous noise problem. Is there any rule on how close you're allowed to build to a highway?
Well, the highway itself has, in fact, the cursor was just on it. Melinda, can you, right there. That's, I believe oh gosh, I can't remember if that's I think it's a 200-foot setback from the highway itself. But there's a distance from the highway that the state owns. It's their right-of-way.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't build within that, but it appears that they'll be building right up against the property line, as you can see up on the site plan. Is there a rule from the highway? No, other than not within their right-of-way.
Yeah.
So
You
whatever
can
the
see
state
all the
owns.
houses that are pretty close when you drive along 28.
Right.
You can.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And there are trees there
yeah,
between the highway and the houses,
yeah.
but they're, in the winter, the trees don't amount to anything.
Oh, that's why you can see the houses.
Right.
And that's gonna be a new road, a way?
Yep.
Right
It's gonna
there,
be
okay.
a driveway, I believe.
Yes.
But,
However, the town will be responsible for plowing it.
so if it's considered a driveway, isn't it 500 feet the limit?
Mm-hmm.
And-
Yeah, I think, was it 300?
It's a sub,
Oh, I thought I heard
I heard
600.
600,
Yeah,
It is.
It is 600. However, for a new road,
so it's not a road, it's a
a
driveway, is how they're
driveway,
getting around that.
right.
Does that mean they don't have to build it to subdivision standards?
Yep,
well, with the 40B process, they can get waivers
pass
from
all our
anything.
local rules.
Right. Well, in our comments, among the things we ought to comment on is the closeness to the highway and the noise problem for the people living up there, and that affects a minimum of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 of the houses of the 24.
Okay.
Okay?
I think we should question the safety because of the cul-de-sac, even though it is a private road. We have found for years, we don't allow things that long as roads.
That's what I thought.
But
Yeah.
because this is
A
going to a 40B,
driveway.
they don't have to go by our bylaws. So we would want to just recommend that we're referring this to the Cape Cod Commission?
No, it's going to the
No,
ZBA.
CBA,
It's a 40B.
good luck.
Yeah.
I'll just stop there.
No, go ahead and say it.
No,
We're
the
going to put it
ZBA's
in our comments.
I leave it alone.
Jim, just to clarify, were you indicating the safety in terms of the fire apparatus? Yeah.
And I was concerned about the septic. We haven't heard any, this is right across from Bourne's
Bourne's
Pond and the
West Falmouth Harbor.
both nitrogen and phosphate issues. Are we just deferring that too? We're not listening to any comments on that and leaving that up to others as well?
No, this is the time to comment.
Have we heard anything? Where's the applicant?
So the applicant's not before you. This is a referral from the zoning board of
Okay,
appeals.
so we only get to lay our questions down, okay. So
Correct.
no answers, only questions
Or comments.
or comments.
Yeah.
I got it, I'm all set.
I think it's important that it's across from Bourne Pond, very near to it, and I think all they're proposing are Title V.
Yeah, so there's a combination of shared septic system
Yeah.
for a number of the lots, and then some are individual septic systems, yes. But I do not believe any of it is proposed to be denitrification.
Right.
At least that's
So
what I read.
inadequate septic systems, all draining downhill to the pond.
14.
Right.
14
that
are
ought
gonna
to
be
be
shared. There's 14 of them that are gonna be shared.
Shared, right.
So,
Pat?
I think the topography is horrendous to
Yeah.
try to make anything work on there.
yeah,
It's boulders, it's
it's like a,
huge steep rise. I don't know how they're gonna build
20 or
this number
30 degrees, I
of
think.
dwellings there, much less doing septic system.
and they've done it further down. I mean,
Mhm.
they've done a lot of that in this section.
Well, you can do that kind of thing if, so long as the buildings aren't 15 feet apart.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
There are way too many buildings, way too close together on this.
And that would be a concern because?
You can't, with that kind of topography, how are you going to site those buildings? How are you going to site the
They'll
septic
have to
systems?
terrace it all the way up.
I believe that they're proposing a retaining wall along the eastern side.
Yes, so it shows it.
Yeah, the eastern and then a portion of the southern side as well. A good deal of the southern side is what I see.
Yeah. Well, the Board of Health is gonna weigh in on that anyways, so, you know. But we could list that as a concern, you know, we have a concern about the septic systems.
So there was a comment about.
That, the topography one, she just went flipping by?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
It's not ours to figure it out, but we can certainly comment that we don't see how it can come into existence with the topography there. We also don't see any landscaping, and you look at this, how can they do any landscaping? It's all built on or tarred on.
Paul?
Yeah, I have a couple concerns. I think this is very dense, particularly for the site. I'm not comfortable with the 10% slope going up that hill either. But most of this appears to be a rock formation. So the septic systems aren't going to work very effectively in those areas. And then the issue of drainage is going to be a real problem too. Because you can't have the drainage coming down at 10% slope onto the highway. And that's what's going to wind up happening unless they really deal with that. And I don't see space to be able to deal with the drainage here. So there's some real concerns I think they need to address.
Jim?
I would like to know the vertical drop from the top to the bottom. It kind of resembles a ski slope, and that's how I judge ski slopes, by the vertical drop, so maybe they should give us the same number.
Nice looking buildings anyways.
Can we request that?
You could
Goes up
study
40
the map and do the math. It's there, I just haven't taken the time to do the mathematical calculations.
Might be there.
It's just,
Hard to read it.
Goes up 40 feet.
40
40
feet.
feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, right from that chart that she just showed.
Okay.
The top is 80, the bottom is at 45.
oh, you're saying it's a 10%, it is, it shows the 10% slope.
Yeah.
How far away is Thomas Landers Road from the entrance there too? Because I think it's a little bit closer than we want to see.
It's pretty close. I don't know specifically that they showed that.
It's got to be within 75 feet.
And we like,
No, she's talking from the intersection of.
yeah, I'm talking about
Oh,
from
from
the
the
intersection of Thomas Landers Road
So was
to
I.
where
I was
the
just guessing at
drive-in.
it, but I drive by there all the time.
I
So I
know.
have it on the screen right now.
Can you measure that?
Yep.
Fine.
To right to the edge of it is roughly 325 feet, 330. How do you,
Can you put the cursor where the new road would come in?
Right about there,
I would say about,
more towards the bottom line there,
right about there?
yeah. No, a little down towards the southern part of the line. It's almost on the line. Yeah, right there.
Right here?
Yeah, right about there.
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah, be about there.
Having difficulties, hold on.
Well, the lot right next door is 141 feet wide, and then there's
It's
another parcel
361.
between that and Thomas Landers Road.
Yeah.
This measures roughly 361, so
Yeah.
give or take.
Okay, so that's okay.
That first driveway is very steep also. I drove up there this afternoon, and that's very steep. That seems to be the high point, yeah, actually. Yeah, right down below that.
And there's already a house up there.
Yeah, then it seems to drop off to the
Or a
north.
little knob hill.
John?
I just want to comment that there is an affordable housing development similar to this, a little bit further up Route 28A. And it has very much the same characteristics. It's 16, I believe it's 16 condominiums.
The one they're building now? But they're just
It's
finishing it up?
It's very steep, it's very dense, and,
Yep.
but when you drive in there, it looks very nice. It has some retaining walls, and so
I
we
think
can
this
make
is
the
actually
comment.
more dense than that.
I'm sorry?
I think these houses, there are more of them and they're closer together.
It may be.
Yeah. Well, and it happens that Viewcrest Drive, I don't know if you're familiar with it, down near to Brick Hill Road, but it has more or less the same topography. My parents lived at the top of that hill, so it's the top of the moraine is what it is. And it's a very steep hill. But there are buildings, houses, all the way on both sides. So it certainly can be done. In its favor,
Oh, yeah.
I think the house design is pretty good.
Yeah. It's a nice looking building.
Yeah, they're nice-looking buildings. There's just too many of them for the lot.
I mean, all we can say is what, comments to the ZBA.
Right.
And then, I'm sure when this comes before us for site plan, then we might have
Then we
other,
can, yeah.
other things, so. But so much of it is out of our hands because it's a 40B plus a health department and the fire department, all these people have to weigh in, so.
Right, so we'll hear from them. Jed, how do our comments get from spoken here to ZBA? You're taking notes, or?
I am, yep. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the video just to clarify any of the comments, but I'm taking notes here. We'll write it up in the referral and we'll send it via email to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, and I would suppose the fellow who lives directly across the street from where the so-called driveway is coming out will have a lot to say.
Yep, and so, you know, just like any other 40B through the zoning board of appeals, they'll have a public hearing. And, you know, the public will be given an opportunity to speak at that time.
Right.
So is that a driveway, if you're looking at that, right, there's a building there? And is that a driveway where I see the arc?
This? This right
No,
here.
on, across the street.
Oh,
So
this is a driveway,
That is a
yes.
driveway, so,
Yes.
so you have, and is that gonna work, having a driveway that close with the road going in? Is that okay?
Well, that's, I mean, for like any development, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, isn't there supposed to be a certain distance offset from,
I believe it's just for streets, right? Or is it from?
Yeah, it's for streets.
just for streets,
Yeah.
okay?
So, but this house is very close to the road,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
so you'll be
Is
impacted.
that a big antique in a barn that's across the
Yes.
street? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So this is the main house right here, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah,
One
and
of
they
my
worked very
students
hard on
lived
that
there.
house.
I always loved that barn.
Yeah, remember, yeah. They rebuilt it, didn't they?
Yeah,
But some of the positives, I
Foundation.
think,
Yeah.
are, you know, they've included a sidewalk along the entire cul-de-sac. Well, I mean, you know, for the most part anyway, on one
Yeah.
side. So I think that's a benefit. Sounds like the building design, you thought was appropriate. The fact that they all have attached garages, I thought was a nice plus.
keep the car from rolling down the hill.
And of course, the fact that they're creating 6 affordable homes. You know, obviously, we'd like to see more, but
Yeah,
the requirement is 25%, so perhaps that summarizes the positive comments?
I can't think of any others.
I think another area is there's no common space, no play space for children.
Oh, no. If they're playing basketball, it's gonna end up on.
They can ski, yeah.
Yeah, skiing, we could.
Sledding in the winter if it ever snows
Yeah.
again. Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
it would appear that the catch basin, the proposed stormwater catch basin, is really small for that area. If you look at it, there's a very small catch basin area at the entrance.
Yeah,
And
I'd be
that's pretty
curious to see
small
what
compared
engineering
to
has to
the
say.
oval area there.
In the basin, the stormwater basin?
Yeah.
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 Especially with the amount of rainfall we're getting now.
Yeah. You could say, okay, that common septic area lot, that could be a play area. It's right against the road
It's right at
there.
the street.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
the
concern.
problem.
Well, these are single-family homes, it's
Yeah.
not a condominium project.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna have a yard, front and back.
Sort of.
Yeah, some bigger than others, but yeah, I get your point.
It'd be also interesting to see the retaining wall they're gonna build along the highway. I don't know what that elevation is. There's no cut through there, so you can't tell.
That would come under site plan review. I would imagine.
Bob knows all about retaining walls.
Yeah.
And just a comment, when, in my experience in projects like this, the ZBA sometimes requires a peer review to review all the drainage and everything, so you get another opinion on it. I think they're gonna do that automatically. They've done
I
it.
think they should
They've
do
done it on everything that I've seen them do. I wouldn't
Yeah.
think that that's part of their normal practice. So you get another engineering opinion to address Paul's problem and issue. And, I just want to comment also that I appreciate our staff being as good as Melinda is and using the tools and showing us all these things. We've come a long way at our meetings, and I appreciate the getting the instant answers that have been there in the past, but now we actually get the answers
Get them,
right away.
right.
And I do appreciate that tremendously.
Well, and I noticed that Scott Schuler's information, his report on the earlier project is really very well done. He's using color now to highlight things and bring out his points. He's doing a great job, yeah.
One final point, the ZBA is planning a public hearing on May 16th on this project, so it
On this
might be
project?
wise to attend that as well.
Hmm.
I don't know if the public is aware of that, but
It was just notified in the paper, and abutters are going to be notified this week.
Okay, can we move on now to our second
Yeah.
referral to the ZBA, which is for 0, it says, Acapesket Road, another 40B. You could take a look at that. It's a much smaller project than the one that we're just looking at. Well, much.
Madam Chair, I'm gonna recuse myself. I developed the property across the street from this and still have interest in property there, so.
Uh-huh. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, once again, you included in your packet is the notice of the referral, the application for the comprehensive permit. You have all of the site plans and the architecturals. And this project, very briefly, is located, as you mentioned, at 0 Acapesket Road. It's a 1.54 acre property. The proposal is for 12 units. They're all duplex structures, 3 of which will be affordable units. It's an all-rental application, so all of these units will be rental-based. They all will be 1-story, and they will have a range of bedrooms, 1 to 3 bedrooms. And square footage ranges from approximately 672 square feet to 900 square feet. And Melinda's got the site plan up on the screen, and so, just go through the same process we just did.
Okay, so comments going forward to the ZBA. Who would like to start? I'd like to say that I appreciate that they're all rentals. Good for the developer. They appear to have been designed to make them affordable rentals. And
Yeah.
of the,
Size-wise.
yeah, which is good. And of the number, the 25% of them will be definitely made affordable, but from their size, you can see that they're going to be accessibly affordable.
How far down the road from 28 is this parcel?
Not far.
Not far, I think it's right near the corner.
'Cause you've got the oil company there. And,
Should we time her, see how fast she can do it?
'cause I drive down it, that's just quite a bit.
33,390. Is it these 2 properties?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, it's these 2 properties.
Yeah.
And it's Here's 28,
Oh, okay.
so it's not far down.
Sykes Lane,
Okay, so the large space there is the graveyard, right?
yep.
Yeah. Okay,
I want to say I measured it at one point, approximately half a mile, maybe.
okay. And it's on the right-hand side as you're going south?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have any elevations
Yeah.
that we could see here?
Oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to see them on the screen
Yeah.
here,
You mean the building elevation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the building.
Okay.
so people could see them at home.
that's for the two-bedroom
So they,
building.
am I looking at clapboard and cedar shingle roof, not cedar shingle roof, but, roofing tile, asphalt roof and clapboard siding?
Looks like it. Shingles, asphalt shingles on the roof. Can't really read this.
Yeah,
very
they're
well.
asphalt shingles, aluminum tubing for the gutters and so forth.
And then-
It's not all labeled.
Yeah, I
They
don't
could
think
use a little
it
bit more
specifies.
detail, I think.
The note just says siding on Tyvek or equal.
And it appears to be shingled.
I really wish they could, if it could handle double the amount, if they were 2 stories, but I don't think in this, resource district that could handle.
I will note that, staff attended their project eligibility site visit. Gosh, this was back a ways.
Over a year ago.
Yeah. And I remember at the time, the discussion was trying to fit into the character of the neighborhood. So the neighborhood around there is mostly single-family homes, so they
If they're
didn't.
single-family, low Cape Cods, they fit with this design.
And they're low,
Yeah.
they're not big, they're not taller
Right.
ones like the other one we saw, as I recall, there's some duplexes along that stretch of Acapesket.
Yeah.
I would just like to understand the siding a little better, it's really hard to see what they look like, they've left a lot to the imagination.
What do you mean?
I don't see, do you see it on here, what it is?
The siding?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I don't think it specifies. It likely is a little too early for that.
But the set we just saw was pretty clear what the buildings are gonna look like, they showed a lot more detail, and this is, I'm just commenting on the lack of detail.
Sure.
They've got 2 designs. One design is to house the buildings, I think it's the one, not, the one you're looking at right now. The entryway on the right goes into a 3-bedroom model, and the one on the left is a 1-bedroom studio sort of thing, 1 bedroom. And then the earlier one we saw, 2 bedrooms on both sides. And from the little bit of labeling that they've given to the elevations, all it says that's definite is asphalt shingles for the roofing.
Yeah, I can't read.
I can't really read.
They may be leaving it open-ended for a conversation with the zoning board of appeals too.
Yeah.
But I don't see anything in the application or the plans that indicate the type of siding.
Yeah.
I mean, you could assume based on the
Yeah.
drawing that it's clapboard, but,
Yeah.
This looks like
No,
shingles.
the drawing makes it look
When
like
I'm looking at
shingles.
shingles.
and then
With,
there's
with the
not
water
labeled.
table,
it says shingles, right?
with the water table in the front, I would guess that it's gonna be clapboard in the front and shingles throughout
Yeah.
the rest, so.
So elevations are unclear.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely shingles in the back and the sides.
Which is just to make it fit into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that part's good.
My friends from the West Coast can't understand why we do clapboard in the front and shingles on the rest of the house.
Style out here.
Yeah. I just told them Cape Cod's were too cheap to clapboard all the way around the house.
Is there a landscape here?
So one thing we noticed is, the driveway coming in is quite large. There's an expansive area, I think that's where they have Some visitor parking right at the,
Oh,
Yeah,
right
they
there.
visitor parking, and of its kind, maybe it's just in contrast to the one we saw earlier. The spacing is better for the residents.
yeah,
It's
there's
a lot more room,
breathable area.
right. And with the 2 and 3 bedrooms, they're expecting at least some families to be living there.
And, you know, it is close to the village, too.
Mhm.
You know, so, you know, location-wise, it's better than some others that have
Yeah.
gone on down there.
Well, here you actually have parking for 2 cars
Yeah.
per unit.
Yeah.
The other one, yeah, garage, fine, and then a car behind them.
Oh, and there's common space in the center. You
Absolutely.
could landscape that.
This-
That whole center area there is a wonderful place for kids to play.
Yeah,
Well, they actually have it looks like a proposed playground
yeah.
on the back. Yep, exactly. She was just on it, the back left.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Where?
Yeah, they mentioned that.
No, go back to landscaping. So right there where your cursor is.
Oh, I see it, yeah, sorry.
And I'm assuming that this will be some company that is the rental agent for this.
Yeah, it's listed in Yarmouth and Plymouth.
You mean the monitoring agent?
To do the lottery for the low-income ones?
Yep.
I wonder why they're doing out-of-towners.
Well, I mean, you can select any lottery agent, I believe. You know, it's just based on who's available to do it. And to my understanding is that, you know, company would obviously monitor the lottery itself, make sure that the applicant is qualified to live there, but also monitor the future rent limits. Because as you know, as our AMI changes, the rent limits can also change, and the monitoring agent's there to make sure that those don't exceed what is
I
allowable.
wonder if that makes it less likely that local people will be able to access those new units.
I don't believe so, just from my own unit, my own experience. My monitoring agent is off Cape.
Oh, and it made no difference. I believe it was said at one of the hearings not long ago that there's a 70%, they try to look for 70% local people.
So technically, there's a state law that prohibits you going above 70% local preference. That's what it's called, local
Oh,
preference. What we have heard, and the housing coordinator can talk to this better than I, but what I've understood is that sometimes it's difficult to get folks from Falmouth or who have jobs in Falmouth, and it can create a delay if you're requiring such a high percentage of local preference, because if no one qualifies, then they have to go back out to the lottery, they sort of have to restart the process. I know that we are working to understand if that process can be modified, so, you know, if there's not a local applicant, then a out-of-town applicant can just step right in. The next one in line can just come
These
right
are
in.
rentals though, right? They're not purchased?
Correct.
So they don't have to qualify for a mortgage, they just have to have enough credit to pass an application. So that would be a lot easier. If you're doing mortgages, it's really hard,
Right,
because very few people can qualify, because they're right at the edge,
right.
you know, between the price and what they make. That's a knife edge. Rentals is probably a little easier to qualify, at least I would guess it would be.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've heard from this applicant that, you know, it's challenging even in the rental market to find people who qualify as a local preference applicant. And so, you know, there's been advocacy for lowering that number. But the point is, you can't exceed 70%. So I don't know what that percentage is that the ZBA will ultimately come down on, but it may be lower than 70, but it can't exceed it.
The ZBA sets the bar?
As a, you know, sort of conversation with the applicant,
Oh.
looking for a local preference.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this project?
Can't wait for public comment on it.
Yeah,
I like this one.
you do like this one.
Yes, I do.
Paul?
I'm just curious, where is the architect from? You can't read his drawing. Bruce Wayne Devlin Architects? Are they local?
No, I've never heard of
You
them.
can't, I never heard of them, and none of these drawings have,
I mean,
can you read?
The first thing that came to mind, obviously,
they're
was
from Hanover.
Gotham City, but I don't think that's a real place.
Oh, that's the land surveyor.
Batman.
You can't read any of the stuff on them.
Yeah.
Somebody got it.
Bruce Wayne, that's,
It
that,
felt like a dad joke that no one heard.
I got it.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
You should have appeared in person.
So I think we have no more comments to add.
Okay.
You don't believe me, huh?
Then, we have Planning Department report.
Things have been relatively quiet as of late. We've been working very hard on Paul's project, Shiver's Pond. I'm not going to steal his thunder because I know he's going to talk about it in a minute. But we're very excited about a Shiver's Pond event, which I'll let him articulate later. We've been working on our downtown parking and wayfinding project, so we're happy to announce that, we've got a public survey. We're developing our project website, but we'll be launching all of that material. Dr. McHale is already working on that now. To launch that project, we'll be doing data collection very soon, so off-peak data collection of parking, and then we'll be doing it in the summer as well. Comparing that, doing public events. Our open space and rec plan is moving along really well. We're supposed to finish that up in August, so a lot of things have been happening. I don't know why I said quietly, because really it's not quiet at all. It's quite noisy. So we're very, very busy, but happy to be so. And of course, zoning bylaw changes, which happen slower than some would hope, but we are still working on that effort.
Coming along.
Coming along.
Yeah. Well, and we got a few past town meeting, so that
We
was
did.
good.
We did.
Yeah.
And that was a great town meeting. I thought, ultimately, even though the definition section was a little challenging to understand, we got through it, which I think is a good thing.
It was weird. Yeah, we'll let it go
I
at
was
that.
screaming at the TV.
We're striving for simplicity. That's
Yeah.
our new motto.
Yeah,
Mm.
we don't want that.
Moving on. So, Paul, you have a report?
Committee reports, no.
No, I want to hear about, I've driven by the pond over and over.
Oh, our town plan took the liberty of passing these things out, and these are the agenda for the Arbor Day celebration on Friday, the 26th at 10 a.m. The Falmouth Public Works Tree Division, under the guidance of Jeremiah Pearson, been working really hard leveling that area, removing trees, and they put in at least a dozen, maybe more trees this week, and they're still moving. So they're moving forward with that, and he intends to have a celebration for Arbor Day and use the park as a focal point for that. So I hope you all come.
Have they picked a name for it?
Sorry?
Have they picked a name for the new park?
Well, I've been calling it Shiver's Pond Park.
Will that be it?
That might stick.
Well, if local usage has its way.
And if I remember correctly, you were part of the original group that started this many years ago, about 10 years ago.
I was a tag-along. I went to see Vicki Lowell about maybe joining the planning board, and all Vicki wanted to talk about was Shiver's Pond.
Yeah, she's been a big proponent.
Right, very much so. And you, Paul, you've been at this for how long?
Well, it was nice because the people who were involved in the original one, if I remember correctly, were Lawrence School, District School, Planning Board, you, Recreation, Sandra Cooney, Jim Toe from Rotary, a few others too, and I was listed as a town meeting member, not from the planning board for this project.
Sure.
So there were
You've
8
been the
people on
one
the
who's been
original
most
committee.
there.
And they worked very hard to push this thing through. The funding's been available for some time, and the outstanding item is what to do about the platform, and my understanding is that's moving forward.
And we're very excited to say so. We've cleared all of the environmental permitting. So the next step is to put together a bid package and send it up to bid and hope for construction to be happening sometime in the near future. So park happens first, platform happens second, Paul gets a new bench, and we dedicate the park to Paul and others, of course.
Wonderful.
We've worked so hard on it.
Well, if you drive by, a lot of trees have been put in already. They've gone overboard.
But I noticed there's a lot of trees have been taken out already.
Yeah.
It's really, I think it looks good, it looks cleaned up, and this will
I counted.
encourage people to use the parking over there at the school.
That's right.
Well, one of the things came up, people start getting worried about if somebody hits a home run and comes over the fence and hits a car, is the town liable? And we said, well, there's space across the street, they park there, we don't have that problem, do we? So it gave more room for the old path. So Jeremiah is really working hard on it. I put together the posters in the kiosk this morning over at Lawrence School.
Oh,
So
nice.
the kiosk is going in on Thursday, and the celebration will be on Friday. But it's really a DPW celebration for Arbor Day.
Thursday or Friday?
Maybe we'll have another one when the platform is done.
We can.
Maybe.
Who doesn't like a celebration?
Yeah, really. Well, especially if we could have it in a gazebo where they're selling coffee.
By the way, I counted 50 large trees were taken out.
Yeah.
I went around and counted, there were 50, and numerous small trees, too. So they kept some trees, and they're planting them according to where the trail is going to go.
Who planned it? Who was the,
Jeremiah has done it.
With
Tree
help
warden.
from Mark Kasperzik,
Jeremiah
Mark
Pearson?
Casper.
in conservation. They've been doing a lot of really heavy lifting there. So,
Nice.
big thanks to them.
Yeah.
But, you know, the town doesn't get a chance to develop a new park very often, so they're taking advantage of it.
Well, they're making good use of it.
Okay.
And more to come. I mean, the DPW and Engineering Division are working on a shared use path that will connect from the larger sidewalk along Catherine Lee Bates, which ends right at Shiverick's Pond. They'll be extending that all the way over to Palmer Ave, adding in a new crossing over to the bike path. So I think there's gonna be a lot of really cool things to come.
Good.
It extends downtown,
It does.
what it does.
Yep.
It's wonderful. Paul, you've really worked hard on it. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not done yet.
Don't quit now.
Okay.
You know, somebody said something years ago when we were working on the Falmouth station. I think Sue Moran said, oh, we'll have to put a bench there with your name on it. And I said, Sue, I think what you have to do is put the name of everybody who's on the committee on the bench. There was no room for that. And I said, well, we don't need a bench with anybody's name on it.
Usually people
community
get
effort.
when they put a name on a bench.
Right. There's a rule in Boston, I don't know about Falmouth, you cannot put up memorials to anyone who's alive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Absolute rule against it. We were trying to
So
do.
stick around, Paul. We don't want to see a name
Yeah.
on a bench.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Oh, we have to
I'm
talk about
looking at this
No, can't.
Falmouth
Yeah.
Housing Partnership.
Sorry.
Oh, Forum on Housing.
Refreshments.
Look at this, and it's going to be May 9th, this is very soon. 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning, this is very early. Right here, refreshments, they would need it just to prop people up at that hour. And they're gonna do housing agencies and who they serve, housing funding, housing selection and lotteries and local preference, and finding housing resources. Well, this is really needed. How are we advertising this?
This will be all over the town's website. Likely, she'll be sending it over to social media platforms, and if we can, Falmouth Enterprise.
We should be sure to give a copy to Taylor,
Yes.
who is our new correspondent from the Enterprise. So, thank you.
Housing being such an important topic lately, I think this is great timing.
It is, it is. Did you decide to do this?
It was Kim Fish, our housing coordinator. She works with folks in the, I think, the consortium listed down below to put this together. So it's all the housing coordinator's work. We're just helping her spread the word.
She's a hard worker.
The hardest.
Yeah, she just, well, I don't know about that, but a hard worker, one among many. And she's just finished the housing production plan. You'd think that she'd be, you know, sitting on her laurels a bit.
We did have a party. but
Oh, you did?
That's over with now.
Oh,
We're moving on.
too bad.
More work to be done.
Go back to ground zero,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Then you'd have plenty of time to have more meetings about short-term rentals.
Yes, we would.
Is there anything else anyone wishes to bring up?
I have an announcement.
Go ahead.
Last night, I was pleased to get an entertainment permit for July 10th. We're going to be sponsoring a public concert, and free to everyone, and also free to the artists. I'm going to have 6 pop-up tents that artists that I can't get into the gallery, I'm letting them sell with free, keep all their own money. And we're having a band that I love. It's the Stage Door Canteen, a 12-member band playing a 2-hour concert. It'll be going on July 10th during the crafts fair. We're cleaning out the back of all the buildings we have there. The tenants are going to park someplace else, and we're going to have a live concert open to the public. And it got approved last
Do they have
night.
to walk around back?
Well, we have an alleyway coming right from Main Street to
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
There's a right-of-way right from Town Hall Square, and there's a driveway on Chancery Way.
You'll have to put out big sandwich boards and stuff.
Well, we just got approved last night. We'll be working on the marketing, but I just wanted to, it is open to the public, and it's for free, and it's all philanthropic. I'm doing it just to help artists, basically.
Well, you're really kind of moving out of real estate into this art thing.
No, 99% of my income comes from real estate, only 1% comes from art.
Oh.
It looks more like art because it's big and pretty, but like I said, the math tells you what it is.
Philanthropy.
Yep.
What's the theme of the event? I watched the
It's
TV
just-
program last night, and I saw you.
It's just an arts fair, basically. They have a big crafts fair up and down Main Street, so there'll be thousands of people there. And it usually shuts down our business because no one can get there. So I said, what the hell, let's have a party. And I called up, my dream was to get the Stage Door Canteen. And the guy said, Jim, I've been in your art gallery, and my girlfriend would love to have a pop-up tent. We'll be glad to pay. And they gave me a really cheap price to do it. I'd never thought I could afford to do it. So it should be, I'm excited about it. So if you're walking around that day and you're bored of going and see all those things, you hear the music, we'll have
Come to your place.
free entertainment for
I
everybody.
heard hot dogs, too.
Hot dogs? Hot dogs, yeah, we're having, Hogs and Dogs will have sodas and hot dogs, and providing it, and they're all permitted, and everything's permitted through the town and approved by the selectmen, so it's all up and up.
Wow. Well, thank you. On
That
behalf of the
was-
whole town.
It was a whimsical idea, and I was just thrilled that I could get them to do it at a really reasonable price, and it should be fun.
And here it's coming. Any other announcements?
Move to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
All right?
We're adjourned. Thank you.